I, a 29-year-old male, grew up in a small town, the kind of place where people leave their doors unlocked and still wave at each other when passing by. Not much ever happened here. You went to school with the same people from kindergarten to senior year, and everyone knew your business whether you wanted them to or not. It was the kind of town where friendships weren't just friendships, they were lifelong connections. That's where Landon, also a 29-year-old male, comes in. Landon wasn't just my best friend, he was more like a brother. We met in second grade when we got into a dumb argument over who could swing higher on the playground. The teacher forced us to sit next to each other during lunch, as punishment, and somehow that turned into a lifetime of friendship. We did everything together. Sleepovers turned into late-night gaming marathons. Summers were spent building bike ramps in his backyard and jumping them until one of us wiped out, usually him. In high school, we played on the same sports teams, chased after the same crushes, and even planned to move to the city together after graduation. Life, of course, had different plans. I went to college for IT, while Landon stayed back home, working odd jobs and figuring things out. We kept in touch, though, and whenever I came home for holidays, it was like nothing had changed. When I finally moved back for work a few years ago, we picked up right where we left off. Landon was still trying to figure out his career, bouncing between different jobs, but that never mattered to me. He was my best friend, the guy who always had my back no matter what. Then I met her, Sierra, a 28-year-old female, at a friend's barbecue, one of those big summer cookouts where half the town shows up. I wasn't really looking for anything serious at the time, but the second we started talking, I was hooked. She had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the world. Confident, quick-witted, effortlessly charming. The kind of woman who could jump into any conversation and immediately have everyone hanging on to her words. We ended up talking for hours that night about everything, and it just clicked. By the time the barbecue was over, she gave me her number without me even asking. That was Sierra, bold, sure of herself, completely different from anyone I'd ever dated before. Things moved fast after that, but it never felt rushed. Our relationship just felt natural. We had this easy rhythm, late-night drives, deep conversations about life, laughing at terrible movies. Everything just fit, and yeah, it wasn't perfect. We had our little disagreements, but nothing major, nothing that made me question what we had. So when I proposed to her after a year of dating, I was sure. I never thought for a second that I could be wrong. One of the things I loved most about Sierra was that she got along with my friends, especially Landon. When Sierra met Landon at that barbecue, they hit it off right away, not in a way that felt weird, just easy. Landon had that effect on people. He made her laugh within the first 5 minutes, poking fun at me about something dumb I did in high school. She fired back with some witty comeback, and before I knew it, the two of them were bouncing off each other like they'd been friends for years. The three of us hung out all the time, and it was nice having the two most important people in my life get along so well. I never once thought that was a bad thing. Landon was the life of the party. He could make friends with anyone and had this way of making things fun. He and Sierra had this playful, sarcastic banter, but it was never weird. If anything, I liked that they could joke around because Landon wasn't just my best friend, he was like family. I trusted him with my life. There was this one night about 6 months before the wedding, when Sierra opened up to me about something deeply personal. We were lying on the couch, watching some dumb reality show when she got quiet. You know that feeling when someone's about to say something heavy? Yeah, it was like that. I don't know if I'll ever be able to have kids, she said suddenly, staring at the ceiling. I turned to her, caught off guard. What? She hesitated before continuing. I never told you this, but a few years ago, a doctor told me I might be infertile, something about my hormones being off. She said it like she had already grieved it, like it was something she had come to terms with a long time ago. I felt this deep ache for her. I could hear it in her voice. This wasn't something she threw around lightly. This was something she had carried for years. I took her hand. Sierra, that doesn't change anything. She looked at me like she was waiting for me to react badly. When I didn't, her eyes filled with tears. I just didn't want you to be disappointed, she admitted. I shook my head. I love you. We can figure things out together. And I meant it, every single word. We didn't talk about it much after that, but it stuck with me. I found myself thinking about it late at night, wondering how much pain she had hidden behind that strong, confident front. It made me love her even more. Things kept moving forward. Wedding planning was in full swing, work was steady, and life felt good. Landon was right there with us through all of it, helping pick out suits, cracking jokes about how miserable I was going to be once I was officially tied down, the usual best man duties. He even helped Sierra with some of the wedding details. I trusted both of them, and I was just happy to be marrying the woman I loved. But one night changed everything. It was just a normal hangout with our usual group, about 7 of us at one of our favorite bars, nothing fancy, just catching up, cracking jokes, and blowing off steam. Sierra was next to me, deep in conversation with one of the girls, and Landon was across from us, going on about something. When it happened, I wasn't even paying attention at first. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw Sierra reach for something on the table, and her hand barely brushed against Landon's arm. It was so fast that it almost didn't register, but for some reason, it did. Something about it felt off, not the touch itself, but the way Landon reacted, like he froze for half a second before forcing himself to laugh at whatever joke he had just made. And Sierra, she pulled her hand away quickly, tucking her hair behind her ear in this nervous little way that I'd never thought much about before. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that I was looking too hard at something meaningless. So I shook it off, or at least I tried to. The next few weeks felt normal, almost too normal. Sierra and I were busy with wedding planning, and Landon was still his usual self, but he started bringing up this new idea every time we hung out. "I've been thinking," he said one night as we grabbed food. "What if we started something together, like a small business?" I nearly choked on my fries. "A business? Yeah, man, you're good with tech, and I know my way around sales. We could do something, like a digital service thing. I've been looking into it." I gave him a look because Landon was always looking into something. Ideas were never the problem, following through was. "I don't know, dude," I said, trying to be nice. "That kind of thing takes serious money to start, and I don't think either of us. You could fund most of it to start." I blinked.
"Wait, what? You make good money, Ethan."
"It wouldn't even be that big of an investment for you." There it was. I suddenly realized that he was serious. He actually expected me to put my money into something when he hadn't even held a steady job for more than 6 months at a time. I laughed it off, brushing it aside. "Man, you know how these things go. You got to have capital, a business plan, all that stuff. Maybe down the line, but I can't be throwing money into something just to see what happens." Landon smiled, but there was something off about it. "Yeah, I get it," he said, too casually. I didn't think much of it at the time, but looking back, that was the moment he started resenting me. I just didn't realize it yet. Sierra started acting differently, and I couldn't explain how. It wasn't anything big, no obvious signs, just little things that didn't seem like much on their own. She started texting more. That alone wasn't weird, but she'd glance at her phone, smile slightly, then flip it over. She started locking her phone again. Not weird on its own, but we used to use each other's phones all the time. If I needed to check something or if hers was closer, it was never a big deal. Suddenly it was. I'd reach for it and she'd pull it away, laughing. "Hey, private messages, mister." She wasn't wrong. I mean, everyone has private stuff on their phone, but the fact that it was suddenly a thing, that was new. Then she started canceling plans last minute. One Friday night we had a movie night planned, just the 2 of us. At the last second she texted me, "Hey babe, I'm exhausted. Rain check? Love you." That wasn't unusual, but when I called her an hour later she didn't pick up. No big deal, she was probably sleeping. But then I checked her Instagram story. She had posted a picture of some fancy dessert at a restaurant with a caption that said, "Needed a night out." It wasn't proof of anything. Maybe she just needed space. Maybe she changed her mind and went out. But still, why not just say so? It wasn't like her to lie, even about small things. And Landon, he started getting weird too, not in a way anyone else would notice, but I did. He started avoiding one-on-one hangouts with me. Before, we'd grab food or chill like always, but now he was always busy, always had some excuse. At first, I figured he was just caught up in something, but then during a group hangout, he acted totally normal, same jokes, same banter, like nothing had changed. It felt forced, like he was trying too hard. That night, Sierra was in the other room, her phone sitting on the nightstand, screen lighting up in the dim glow of our bedroom. It caught my eye, just a flash of movement in my peripheral vision. I wasn't looking for anything, wasn't even thinking about it, but there it was, Landon. "You free to talk later?" Not in the group chat, not some casual meme or a dumb joke, just a private, direct message. I frowned. Landon and Sierra were friends, sure, but something about the wording stuck with me. Why would he need to ask if she was free? They weren't Kyo workers. They weren't planning a surprise party. If he wanted to talk, he could have just called, right? I could have let it go, could have brushed it off as nothing, but something was off. A tiny alarm in the back of my mind, barely audible but impossible to ignore. Later that night, as Sierra was brushing her hair, getting ready for bed, I kept my tone light, casual. "Hey, saw Landon texted you. What's up with that?" It was so quick, so subtle, that if I hadn't been looking right at her, I might have missed it, the hesitation. "Oh yeah," she said too easily. "He was just asking about some wedding stuff." Lieutenant Landon didn't care about wedding stuff. The guy barely remembered his own sister's engagement until the day of the ceremony. And if that's what it was about, why not just say it in the group chat like usual? I didn't press, just nodded, let the moment pass. But in that instant, I knew that something was going on, and I was going to find out what. Now, listen, I wasn't that kind of guy who goes through his fiance's phone or makes a big deal over harmless conversations. But once a thought like that gets in your head, it's impossible to ignore. It was like this invisible shift had happened between us, and suddenly, I was noticing everything. Sierra had always been affectionate, always reached for my hand when we were walking, always leaned into me when we sat together. That changed. She still said all the right things, still kissed me goodnight, but there was this distance. I told myself I was imagining it until the night she left me hanging. It was a Saturday. We had planned to spend the day together since wedding prep had been keeping us both busy. I was supposed to pick her up at 11 in the morning, grab lunch, maybe hit up a few shops, nothing major, just a normal day together. At 10:45, she texted, "Hey babe, not feeling great. Might stay in today. Can we reschedule?" I wasn't going to push it. I texted back, "Of course. Get some rest. Let me know if you need anything." She just sent back a heart emoji. No big deal, right? Except later that afternoon, I was scrolling through my phone when I saw something that made my stomach drop. Landon had posted an Instagram story, a quick video of him at a cafe, his coffee on the table, a little shot of the place. Nothing suspicious on its own. But then, in the reflection of the cafe window, Sierra, sitting across from him. I stared at my phone, my brain scrambling to make sense of it. She wasn't home. She wasn't resting. She was with him, and she had lied to me about it. I didn't want to go in blind, accusing her without proof, so instead of blowing up her phone, I waited. That night, she texted me around 8 in the evening, feeling a little better. "How was your day?" I stared at the message, my blood boiling. "How was my day?" I took a deep breath and texted back, "Glad you're feeling better. What did you end up doing today?" She responded fast, mostly just slept, tried to get some work done, but didn't do much. Another lie. I felt sick. I wanted to call her out right then, but something in me said, wait. I needed more than this. The next few days were normal. Sierra acted like nothing was wrong. She asked about my day, made jokes, but now everything felt fake. And Landon, he was acting the same way. He barely texted me, barely made plans to hang out, but whenever we were in the same room, he was all smiles. Too much effort in the small talk, too much energy in trying to act like everything was fine. I had to find out the truth. That weekend I came up with a plan. I told Sierra I had to leave town for a work meeting, something last minute. She barely reacted. "Okay, babe, hope it goes well." I expected at least a little disappointment, but she just smiled. Too easy, too casual. That's when I knew. I wasn't going anywhere. I stayed at my friend's place across town, keeping my mind sharp, refusing to let emotions cloud my judgment. But I wasn't just going to sit back and wait. I needed proof. That night, I had another friend drive past my apartment, just to confirm what I already knew deep down. At 1 in the morning, my phone buzzed. Landon's car is parked outside, and what could Landon be doing with my fiancée at 1 in the morning at my house? My jaw tightened, but I didn't react. I had already given everything to this relationship. My time, my loyalty, my future. She had no doubts about me. I was the sure thing. I had built a life for her, made her my priority, given her the security and love that most people spend years searching for. And this is how she repaid me. The easy way out, running to my best friend behind my back while still planning to walk down the aisle with me. Pathetic. I could have rushed over, kicked the door down, and made them face me, made them squirm under the weight of their own betrayal. But why? I already knew the answer. They weren't worth the reaction. No, I needed more than a scene. I needed to hear it from her. I needed her to say it, to admit what she had done, to watch her scramble for excuses she knew wouldn't work on me. The next morning, I went home like nothing had happened. Sierra was sitting on the couch looking completely normal. She smiled when she saw me, got up to hug me. I let her. "How was your trip?" she asked. I studied her face. That's when I realized how good she was at lying. I forced a smile. "It was fine. Long." She nodded, grabbing her phone, probably texting him. I sat next to her and casually asked, "So, what did you do last night?" She didn't even hesitate. Not much, just stayed in, watched some shows. She was getting too comfortable lying to me. I could have ended it right there. I could have told her what I knew, thrown everything in her face. But no, I wanted her to tell me the truth, so I just nodded and waited. But she never felt the guilt or tried to talk to me about whatever the hell she was doing with Landon. That night, I told her I needed to talk. She must have sensed something was wrong because she looked nervous. I took a deep breath. "Are you being honest with me?" Her expression flickered. "What do you mean?" I swallowed hard. "Sierra, I know about you and Landon." Silence. her face drained of color. For a second, I thought she was going to deny it, but then she broke. Tears welled up in her eyes. Her hand started shaking, and then the words spilled out like she couldn't hold them in anymore. It was a mistake. I didn't react. I just stared at her, waiting. She started crying harder. It only happened once. Once, I swear, Ethan, I swear on everything. Once, she was sitting there crying, saying it was just one mistake, like that made it better, like it changed anything. I felt numb. My best friend, my fiancé, the two people I trusted more than anyone else. I stood up. I need to go. Ethan, please. I walked out. I didn't care what else she had to say. I was done. After 3 weeks since I walked out of Sierra's apartment, I was trying to pick up the pieces of my life, realizing that everything I thought was solid was actually built on lies. I blocked her number the night I left. I didn't want to hear excuses, didn't want to hear her beg me to understand. There was nothing to understand. She cheated. She lied. That was it. Landon, though, he had been dead silent. Not a text, not a call, nothing. I figured he was guilty, embarrassed, ashamed, maybe even relieved that the truth was out so he didn't have to keep sneaking around anymore. Either way, I didn't care. Or at least I told myself I didn't. Then I got a call at work from a number I didn't recognize. I barely had time to say hello before Sierra's voice came through. Ethan, please don't hang up. I pulled the phone away from my ear for a second, debating if I should just end this right now, but something in her tone made me pause. It wasn't desperation, it was something else. I just need to tell you something, she said, her voice shaky. Please, I sighed. What do you want? A deep breath. Then, I'm pregnant. Silence. Everything in my body just stopped. I don't even know how long I stood there, gripping my phone, my mind spinning. No, you're not, I finally said, my voice flat. I am. I let out a short laugh, completely void of humor. You told me you were infertile, Sierra. She sniffed. I know, I don't know how this happened, but it did. I was just as shocked as you are. The weight of her words crashed into me, but not in the way she wanted. I wasn't in shock. I wasn't confused. I was furious because now I saw it clearly. She had never been infertile. She had never been told she couldn't have kids. She had simply twisted a doctor's words, exaggerating it might be difficult into it's impossible. And why? So I would never question it. So I would trust her completely and not worry about protection. She had made herself untouchable with a single lie. And now she was standing on the other side of this phone, pretending like she was just as shocked as I was, like she wasn't the one who had been controlling the entire situation from the beginning. Ethan, she said, her voice breaking, there's a chance it could be yours. I should have hung up. I should have told her to deal with it on her own, but the second she said those words, my entire body tensed because what if she wasn't lying? What if, despite everything, there was a chance this was my kid? What do you want from me? I asked, my voice cold. She trailed off. I just thought you should know. I didn't respond. I don't expect anything from you, she added quickly. I know I messed up, and I'm not asking you to come back, but if there's a chance this baby is yours, I wanted you to hear it from me. I hated that part of me believed her. I hated that, despite everything, I couldn't ignore the possibility because if this was my kid, I couldn't just walk away. I hung up without saying anything. Landon reached out the next day. I was at home, staring at the wall, my brain still scrambled from Sierra's call. Hey man, he said, like nothing had happened, like we were just two friends catching up. I clenched my jaw. What do you want? He paused. Look, I know I messed up. I should have told you sooner. I didn't know how. I stayed silent. She told you, didn't she? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I don't know what to do, man, Landon said. I actually laughed at that. You weren't ready? I repeated. Are you serious? I never wanted to hurt you. I gripped the phone tighter. But you did. I know, he muttered. Then, after a beat, he said the one thing that made my blood run cold. I mean, you're in a way better position than me. Maybe it'd be better if it was yours. I pulled the phone away from my ear, staring at it like it had just burned me. What did you just say? Nothing. No. Repeat that. Say it again. Landon hesitated. Come on, man. I just meant you've got your job, your place, everything lined up. You'd be able to take care of a kid better than I could. I couldn't even speak. I was too angry. This wasn't just guilt. This wasn't him apologizing. This was him looking for a way out. He didn't want this baby to be his. And that's when it clicked. Sierra had called me before she called him, not because she wanted me to know, but because she was hoping she could pin this on me. I was done. Lose my number, I said, and hung up. I barely slept that night. My brain wouldn't shut off. There was a real possibility that this wasn't my problem, that Landon was the father, and I had nothing to do with this mess. But there was also the small chance that I was, and no matter how badly I wanted to wash my hands of it, I couldn't ignore that possibility. So the next morning, I called Sierra. "We're getting a paternity test," I said. She hesitated. "Ethan, I don't care what you think," I snapped. "I need to know. Either we do this now or you leave me the hell alone forever." Silence, then quietly, "Okay." I hung up and immediately started looking into non-invasive prenatal paternity tests. I had no idea what I was walking into, but I wasn't waiting until after the baby was born to figure out if I was getting scammed. I sent her the appointment details, a simple text. "We're doing this. Be there." She didn't respond right away. Hours passed. By the time she finally replied, my patience was already wearing thin. "Ethan, I don't think this is necessary." I stared at the screen. I called her immediately. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey," she started, her voice soft, like she was about to talk me down from something. "What do you mean it's not necessary?" I asked, voice tight. She sighed. I don't think it's a good idea to put the baby through unnecessary stress." I almost laughed. "Sierra, it's a blood test. It's not like I'm asking you to do surgery." "I know, but—" I cut her off. "But what?" There was a long pause, then quietly she said, "Because I already know it's yours." I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "You don't know that." "I do," she insisted. "Ethan, I've thought about the timeline and it just— Are you kidding me?" I snapped. "You want me to take your word for it after you cheated on me, after you spent months lying to my face?" She went silent. That was all I needed to hear. "I'll see you at the appointment," I said and hung up. I thought that was the end of it. I thought she'd show up. I was wrong. 2 days before the appointment, I got a text from Landon. I hadn't spoken to him since I nearly broke his jaw. I had nothing to say to him, but now he had something to say to me. "Don't waste your money on that test. You're not getting out of this." I blinked, read the message again. I called him. He picked up almost immediately. "What the hell does that mean?" I asked. "You heard me," Landon said, voice even. "The test is a waste of time. You're just dragging things out when you already know the answer." I actually laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "You sure about that?" "Yeah," he said. "I am." I rubbed my temple, trying to keep my patience in check. "Then you should have no problem taking the test, right? If you're so sure, then let it prove it." Landon exhaled sharply. "This is exactly why Sierra didn't want to tell you." My blood boiled. "Oh, is that the story you're going with now?" I shot back. "That I'm the problem? Not the part where you two snuck around behind my back? Not the part where you both betrayed me?" Landon was quiet for a beat, then he muttered, "Look, man, this is happening whether you like it or not." And that's when it clicked. They weren't going to take the test. They were going to force me into this. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. "You seriously think I'm just going to sit back and let you two dump this on me?" Landon scoffed. "You don't really have a choice. That's where you're wrong." And I hung up. Sierra never showed up for the test. I waited in that damn clinic for an hour, staring at the clock while my stomach twisted itself into knots. Every time the door opened, I looked up, expecting to see her walk in, to prove me wrong. She never did. She didn't answer my texts, didn't return my calls. By the time I left, my hands were shaking with anger. I knew exactly what they were trying to do. They were going to put my name on the birth certificate. They were going to trap me into paying child support, and once that was done, I'd be legally stuck, whether I was the father or not. I needed a lawyer, fast. The next day, I went straight to an attorney. I laid out the whole mess, the cheating, the pregnancy, the paternity test they were refusing to take. When I finished, she folded her hands and sighed. "Well, the good news is they can't legally force you to pay anything until paternity is established." I let out a breath I didn't even realize I was holding. "So if I don't sign anything, I'm in the clear?" She hesitated. "Not necessarily." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" She said, "Listen, if Sierra puts your name on that birth certificate and you don't contest it immediately, you could still be held responsible, even if a DNA test later proves the kid isn't yours." I stared at her. "You're telling me I could be legally forced to pay for a kid that isn't mine?" She said, "It's rare, but it's happened." My hands curled into fists. "So what do I do?" Her expression turned serious. "You're going to document officially that you do not acknowledge paternity. I'll draft a letter stating that if they try to name you as the father on the birth certificate, you will be taking legal action against them for fraud." I nodded, my mind already running through what came next. "And if they still do it?" Her expression turned serious. "Then we file immediately for a court-ordered paternity test, and once that proves you're not the father," she smiled, "we destroy them." I nodded, already making mental notes.
They wanted to play dirty?
Fine, I'd play smarter. The next night, I got another call, this time from Sierra's mom. I debated ignoring it, but against my better judgment, I picked up. "Ethan," she started, her voice fake sweet, "I just wanted to reach out because I know this has been a stressful time for everyone. I leaned against my counter, already exhausted. "What do you want?" She sighed. "Sierra told me about the test. She's really hurt, you know. She thought you loved her." I barked out a laugh. "Yeah, and she loved me so much that she slept with my best friend." She said, "This isn't about the past, Ethan. It's about the baby. You need to do the right thing." "The right thing?" I repeated. "You mean blindly take responsibility for a child that might not even be mine?" "We both know it's yours," she said smoothly. "And if you try to fight it, it's only going to make things harder for everyone involved, especially Sierra." This was blackmail. I felt like the walls were closing in. A year ago, I was planning a future with Sierra, picking out wedding venues, imagining what our life would look like. I trusted her. I believed her. I thought she was my partner, my person. Now here I was, standing in my kitchen, gripping my phone like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality, while her mother tried to manipulate me into a lifelong sentence. Was I really this stupid? Was I that blind? I swallowed hard, trying to push down the rage bubbling up in my chest. She was so confident, so calm, like they had already decided for me, like my feelings, my choices, my entire life didn't matter, like I was just a name on a birth certificate, a paycheck. I wanted to scream, to ask her how she could stand there and defend her daughter after what she did, but I already knew the answer. This wasn't about right or wrong. This wasn't about truth. This was about control, and I'd be damned if I let them take that from me. I forced my voice to stay steady. "We'll see," I said. Then I hung up. After getting the call from her mom, I didn't hesitate. I texted Sierra straight away. "If you or your family try to list me as the father on any official documents, I will take legal action against you for paternity fraud." I got no response from her. Not stopping there, I shot the same message to Landon. His reply came fast. "Chill, dude. No one's trying to screw you over." That almost had me throwing my phone against the wall because that was exactly what they were trying to do. Ignoring his dismissive response, I followed my lawyer's advice and sent both Sierra and Landon a formal email clarifying that. I did not acknowledge paternity and warning them that any fraudulent attempts to list me as the father would face legal consequences. Attached were all the proofs, screenshots, text logs, evidence of them dodging the paternity test. A full dossier of their deceit was now officially in their inboxes. Then I just waited. Less than a day later, Sierra folded. She sent a simple text, "Fine." I stared at the screen, a weight lifting off my shoulders. Days later, she finally agreed to the paternity test. I didn't hear it from her directly, though. A mutual friend spilled the beans, probably assuming I was already in the loop. Turns out the baby wasn't mine. It was Landon's, just as I had suspected. Reading that confirmation brought a mix of relief and anger. I had spent weeks fighting to prove something that was clear as day from the start. They dragged my name through the mud, tried to guilt-trip me, and attempted to trap me, all while knowing there was a chance the child wasn't mine. Now they were faced with the truth, but Sierra remained silent. No apologies, no attempts to clear the air. She got what she deserved, but somehow, I was still painted as the villain. Just when I thought it was over, a new text popped up from a mutual friend. "Dude, what the hell? You're just going to abandon Sierra while she's pregnant?" Just like that? My stomach sank. It had begun again. I realized quickly that while Sierra and Landon couldn't legally force me to take responsibility, they were intent on ruining my reputation instead. Overnight, I was the guy who left his pregnant fiancée. It didn't matter that I had the proof of their cheating or that they had refused a paternity test. They had rewritten the story, casting me as the villain, the guy who got his fiancée pregnant and bailed. Calls and texts came flooding in from family, friends, and even acquaintances, all demanding to know how I could just walk away. But I was prepared. Instead of getting defensive, I went on the offensive. I began sharing the truth with everyone who reached out. I told them about the cheating, about Landon, about their refusal to take a paternity test. Soon, the narrative began to shift. Messages changed from, "How could you do this?" to "Holy shit, I had no idea." People began to distance themselves from Sierra and Landon. One night, Landon snapped. He showed up at my apartment, but I didn't let him in. Standing in the doorway, I faced him as he accused me. "You happy now? You just had to make this a fucking spectacle." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean like how you told everyone I abandoned Sierra?" His anger was palpable. "You ruined my life," he claimed. I couldn't help but laugh. "I ruined your life?" "No, Landon, you did that on your own." He was seething. "You think you're better than me?" he challenged. I stepped closer, my voice steady. "No, Landon, I think I'm better than you because I didn't sleep with my best friend's fiancée." He flinched. For the first time, I could see it clearly, the resentment he'd always held against me. This wasn't about Sierra. It was about him feeling inferior, and when he couldn't measure up, he tried to tear me down instead. I shook my head, dismissing him. "You were never my friend," he sneered. "Yeah, and what does that make you?" I smiled, the weight of the ordeal lifting. The guy who walked away, The guy who didn't get stuck cleaning up your mess. The guy who won. Rage contorted his face, but he didn't make a move. He just turned and walked away. That was the last time I saw him. As the door clicked shut behind him, I felt a profound sense of closure. I texted our group chat to set the record straight once and for all. I'm not the father. Paternity test confirmed it. Ask Landon about the rest. Dropping my phone on the couch, I walked to the window, ignoring the buzzes as my message sank in across our circle. In the following weeks, life found its rhythm again. Some friends apologized, others remained quiet, but slowly I began to rebuild. Looking back, I never wanted my quest for the truth to become public, but I've learned something vital. The truth has a way of coming out, no matter how deep it's buried. As for Landon and Sierra, they're just ghosts of a stormy past. It's official. Landon bailed the second the baby was born, just like I knew he would. The moment his name was legally attached, he disappeared. No job, no money, no responsibility. Sierra, she's struggling. Had to move back in with her family, scrambling to fix the mess she created. She thought she could manipulate her way into security, and instead, she's exactly where she deserves to be. As for me, I'm doing great, focused on my career, building the life they tried to take from me. And yeah, I'm even dating again, something I never thought I'd be ready for, but here we are, moving forward on my own terms. And yes, I'm definitely changing my locks, just in case. Thank you all for your support.